So guys, very quick update. I actually forgot to film an intro for this clip with me, Kasim and Timothy, as well as Raza. So if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe, comment, like. This video is sort of advice on people interested in social media marketing, starting their own agency, starting freelancing, whatever it might be, and some key things that definitely helped me out, as well as Kasim and Timothy, and also my videographer for Raza. So if you're watching this, make sure you show some support, show some love, and enjoy the rest of this video. Again, I apologize, I completely forgot to edit an intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I'm sitting here with the legends, Myths, Kasim, Timothy. We'll get into a second about their sort of origin stories, where they came from other than the countries, why they decided to start their agencies, and a little bit more about them in depth. But in the meantime, if you're new here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment in terms of who you support more. No, I'm joking. But other than that, let's get straight into this video. Anyways guys, welcome back to another video. So this is a slightly different video here today. I'm here with Kasim and Timothy, as I just said earlier. We're going to be talking a little bit more about their life stories in terms of SMA, and also a bit more on the personal side as to what made them actually start and kick off their journeys in the first place. So I'm going to stop talking now. I'll let these guys take it away.
Should I start?
Whoever wants to go.
Cool, so for me, I started at around 16, and back then I remember that I was somewhat lost with what I wanted to do. I know that school wasn't going great, and I just came back to France because I used to live in Thailand, and then I came back to France and I felt lost, pretty unhappy, to be honest. And the funny story is, one day just in my bed I stumbled upon a Tai Lopez video, and yes, it's the famous one, and yes, it's the famous one, the here in my garage, blah blah blah, talking about the 67 steps. And you know what, it catched me, just got my attention, and the ad was like 40 minutes itself, and then he had a link to his his pre-recorded webinar or whatever. And the next day I asked my parents, hey, I need this. Long story short, about 3 months later I started dropshipping. That was back in 2017, so it was still pretty hot back then.
How much money did you take from your parents to invest in?
Zero.
Oh, zero. So you okay, but why did you tell your parents? Was it just like, I want to do this?
I didn't have a credit card.
Ah, right, okay, got it.
Yeah, I was 15 even at the time. But so yeah, dropshipping was the big thing. It was just on the rise, and back then it was so easy to make money, knowing that I had no experience with marketing or selling a product, or no relationship with business or whatsoever before that. And I started 3 stores in total. Only one got like decently big, made like 15k revenue, but on the biggest month. But what made me successful, and by the way, if I'm too long, just let me know, but what made me successful is pretty much Instagram pages. I would grow theme pages and then advertise my products every like 10 videos or so. And so I made revenue like that. I didn't know how to run Facebook ads.
How old were you at this point when you did it?
16.
Wow.
And yeah, so I was in high school as well, so I would grind, like wake up at 5:30, work until 8, go to school, lunch break, watch a course, come back home and just work on it more, and don't do my homework and stuff like that. So the cool thing about Instagram pages is that my profit margins were really high because I didn't have any marketing expenses. So I was making a good amount of money, and
it was just you doing this? Oh,
yeah. And then about a year later, dropshipping just got a bit more saturated. I had to transition to Facebook ads, which I was never incredible at, and my profit margins were like pretty much zero. Like I was breaking even at the end of everything, at the end of the month. And then I started to have companies reach out to me on Instagram in my DMs asking, hey, we see you doing this with my page was called Guitar Flex, and I was selling like guitar accessories and stuff like that because something I'm passionate about. And they started reaching out to me and asking for me to do the same thing for them on their Instagram.
And that's where it clicked.
That's where it clicked, because I was like, they're gonna pay me 1k profit. So I was like, geez, that's just like an easy 1k. And then I realized I was actually having a lot more fun doing this, and like talking to the client, being in front of camera and
Having more of like an interactive experience. Yeah.
Correct. That was just a lot more fulfilling. And then, I realized that SMMA was actually such a business model that suited me more. I like being the boss, I like talking to people, trying to convince them that you're the best or whatever. I just have a lot more fun and I enjoy it. And also you get to build like a proper team that supports you, etc. And with dropshipping, it's I don't know, your relationship I don't feel is as
It's more excluded, I feel.
yeah, have the same sort of bond. So yeah, my SMMA journey started with one of my best friends, my best friend actually, and didn't go super well. We had a couple of clients, but
Ex-best friend.
no, but actually, luckily it ended on really good terms, but didn't work out that well, and that's when you see that there's imbalance between your will, his will, and I would grind, he would, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily then I hired a really good guy that is with me up to this day, and he has done wonders for the business.
And you hired him, just emphasize a bit more on that, like did you hire him as a kind of manager, or like what was the sort of role?
So my service is social media management, so we just are responsible for the whole social media presence of a certain brand, and we would create the content, grow the page, and translate that into a major source of traffic and revenue. That's always been the goal for me. And he was responsible for all of this. My part was just finding clients, and he would handle the deliverables. Next thing you know, we had like 10 clients, and so we needed a graphic designer, a video editor, a copywriter, a community manager just to respond to DMs and stuff like that. So it grew pretty quickly. Especially
what was the time frame for that? Like from starting the SMA till to where you are now, sort of.
Literally 1 year ago.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah, and it really took off like in the last 6 months. I mean, if you look at the first 6 months and the last 6 months, it was like
this.
3K, whatever
Right.
revenue, and then 15, 20, 25. No, actually not 25, but 15, 20, whatever. And now we have 12 people working for the agency as contractors. One of them is getting paid full time, the guy I mentioned, and the rest is history. Oh, also I had TikTok in the meantime that played a pretty good role.
For those who don't know, you have like over 1 million TikTok followers.
Nah, I have 500,000.
Over 1 million.
600.
10 million.
Yeah,
10 million.
soon.
He has more than Kylie Jenner.
Soon. Go subscribe then. I mean, message
Go
business.
No, that's awesome.
Money tricks.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Kasim, if you go ahead and
Sure.
do your part as well.
Hey guys, my name's Kasim, as Arsalan said, and I'll just go over kind of who I am and my story. So I started back, I'll tell you kind of why I started. So 17, still in high school, last year of high school, or second last year of high school when I started. So the start of this year, 2020, I was kind of, so my whole journey through school, I wanted to go into computing, not for the reason I like computing, just because you make money in it. So that's what I studied throughout school, that's what I wanted to do at university. But then I started to actually realise what they do on a day-to-day basis. I was so depressed that this is what I was going to do, by continuing to go down the route that I was going down. So then
how did you realise it was going to be depressed? Did you do work experience?
Yeah, I did. Solid work experience. I got a job at Barclays for software engineering, and I actually realised what they do. And I talked to a guy who works there, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so bad. Like, how could somebody actually work like this for the next 40 years of their life? So that's when I started to really get into online businesses, or just starting a business in general. I really want to start a business and make money. And just be like a millionaire, like all the successful people. So obviously there's the stuff like dropshipping, like Timothy talked about, Amazon FBA, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really resonate, or didn't really want to start any of them, because for me, they just weren't like respectable businesses. Like the kind of model, like there's for sure. There's like the model itself is just not respectable for me. It's like you're selling a random Chinese product online to people, and making like a tiny bit of money from each product. So for me, that's not like a business I'd be proud of going to somebody and saying that I make a lot of money. Oh, how'd you do it? Oh, yeah, I sell Chinese products to people. So yeah, I didn't really want to get into them. And then when I found SMMA, that was when it was kind of going off. People were starting courses on it, all that kind of stuff. So I think it was an ad that actually got me into looking into it further. So yeah, I kept seeing this ad about SMMA, showed it to a couple of friends who were just like, that's complete rubbish. But just for me, something about it just stuck with me, and I just kind of ignored what they were saying, and stuck with it, and looked into it even more and more. I spent, this was like the beginning of the lockdown time in the UK, so that's when the coronavirus came about, the pandemic came about, and
The C word.
the C word came about. So lockdown came, literally doing nothing. There was no exams either because they were cancelled. So I just spent my days waking up, watching non-stop YouTube videos about SMMA and business, and I started to really like it. And then, yeah, so that pretty much continued for the next like 2-3 months, maybe till March time. And then jumped to my mentorship with a guy that lasted about a month and a half. That was really good, learned a lot. But then for the next 5 months, so this is from like April till April till about August time, I literally did nothing. So this was lockdown still, and I had like months to complete stuff and get stuff done. Just literally in my mind, I just wasn't prepared to put in work. I came from a place where my dad always said, you want the world, but you're never going to put in the effort to get there. And I always said, like, are you talking rubbish? Yes, I can. I put the effort in. But then realistically, I spent 5 months procrastinating and not doing what I was taught and not executing. So yeah, big waste of time there. But I lost 17, still a young guy, so yeah, I guess it's a good learning curve. Then about August time, I met this big man, met Arsalan, bought his ebook. Had to ask my dad for 15 quid to buy that.
Where did you actually? No way.
I didn't have to.
I didn't know that.
I didn't have 15 quid, so yeah, asked my dad to transfer me 15 quid. I bought the ebook straight away, and read through it. And then that first weekly call, I talked to Arsalan about like where I was, how long it's been that I've like just sitting there procrastinating and not getting anything. And it was truly my fault. Like it wasn't what I've learned. It was more just I knew everything. I knew like what I needed to do to like sign a couple clients or all that kind of stuff, but I just didn't execute. Like
it was mindset,
yeah,
for
it
sure.
was 100%.
Like you were a big pessimist.
Yeah,
I remember.
100% pessimist. Yeah, and yeah, after that first few weeks of the weekly calls that Arsalan does for his ebook, that's what started to get me motivated. And I started actually doing the work. Set up my looms, did my outreach. Started to like I knew like everything that you would want to know in like the first stages of starting an agency, and I was like now so excited to actually put it into execution. After telling Arsalan about where I was, and he was like gassing me up about doing that I'm going to do well before the end of the year, and I kind of couldn't let him down, and like everybody else that was there as well. So then I was like, okay, I need to step up my game, and yeah, put in the work.
And you did.
I put in a fair bit of work. It still wasn't amazing. I didn't grind all day, to be fair. Just like the bare minimum, I guess. And luckily, you could say luckily, I'm at a really good point now. Mindset has shifted big time. Think about the world a lot differently than I used to. And yeah, it's been really good since then.
So I think the key takeaway here is both of them started pretty much within the last 12 months. And they've done exceptional feats that most people their age aren't able to accomplish or think is a dream or isn't real or isn't reality or it's a scam. They probably have an OnlyFans account or something along those lines. But that's not the reality here. And it's super inspiring to hear that, especially like with Kasim. I literally saw him live from zero going to where he is now, like from day one. And then with Timothy, I remember I used to see on TikTok all the time. Yes, all the time. I used to see on TikTok all the time. And then I used to see your Instagram. I remember we talked in the DMs a few times as well. And then when you finally joined the ebook calls, I got to know you a little bit more. And it's great to see like the whole, because you had no idea about Upwork or any of that thing.
I did not.
And literally you just scaled from that.
Huge icebreaker.
Massively, yeah. So it's been super inspiring to see, and thank you guys for coming out to Dubai just to share your stories. They didn't actually come to Dubai just for the stories, but regardless, I'm thankful that they're here and sharing the stories with you guys here, and hopefully it inspires a lot of you. But just going back to sort of the agency things, let's do like a quick top 3 sort of things that you learned along the way in the last sort of, let's say, 6 months?
You go. I think about it.
Okay, so for me, I get asked this question a lot by like people like my age. So I was 17 now, turned 18 last week, a couple of weeks ago, and I get asked this question a lot because there's a lot I can hold you back when you're just like that my age, there's a lot that can put you down, and there's a lot of things that you can procrastinate with. So I say, this comes from my learning curve of like 5-6 months that I did nothing when I had all the knowledge. So I say, focus on building yourself first before you worry about building yourself and your mindset first, before you try worrying about or putting emotion towards your outreach or your agency or your money. Because realistically, your money is nothing. I mean, obviously your money is not nothing, but if you have the mindset of a real entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what business model you'll go into, because with the right mindset and the right work ethic,
you'll succeed in anything.
You can succeed in anything you want. And we're lucky that we now know this business model, which is SMMA, which is a business model that you can apply that work ethic and mindset, and you can get really far in a really short period, really short time frame. So yeah, I'd say focus on yourself first. Don't attach emotion or any sort of don't attach emotion at all to anything you're doing, especially if you're young. If you have nothing really to lose, then why worry about it? I put a lot of this is a big thing we talked about. Me and Arsalan and Timothy last night, we were talking about putting importance on things. And obviously, if you watch videos and you just in social media, you worry about the 10k mark so much, or like 6 figures. And that's what I was as well. I was so worried about it. I was put so much importance in hitting that number, that I just was stressed every single day. I did nothing. I was stressed, but I did nothing to solve it, or like to fix it. Like, that's how the 6 months went for me. And yeah, so that's what I'd say. Mindset is by far the biggest thing. Like people say it all the time. People just like think it's all rubbish. Like, give me the script that will give me a client, and all this kind of stuff, like scripts and all this kind of thing, our outreach methods or all this kind of stuff. It
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does not matter. Yeah.
There's a reason why, like, even with like all the courses that are out there and the amount of people that buy these courses, exactly. Most people still don't end up getting the success that they want to. And it's not purely based on their knowledge, it's literally just themselves and where they're at mentally.
Yeah, so this is coming from a guy who thought mindset and all this kind of stuff was rubbish, but like a few months ago. But I can now wholeheartedly say, fix yourself before you try to fix the business or work in the business. So yeah, start reading books, Psycho-Cybernetics, Think and Grow Rich, all that kind of stuff. 100% read them. Start looking into mindset, self-image. Build that up first, and your work ethic as well, your routines, and try not worry about how much you're doing in terms of like I need to do so much. Just try to find like a good spot for you, and in terms of outreach, you could say this is a good example. If you're sending out looms, and maybe don't say I'm going to send out 20 looms or 100 looms a week. Put such a big number for you that you won't be able to realistically attain. Put a small number, but stay consistent. Consistency, you probably hear it all the time, but consistency 100% is the biggest thing as well as mindset, because they kind of go hand in hand. Staying consistent with what you're doing, and how you do that, how you stay consistent is you have routines. You have structures to your day,
the discipline,
and discipline as well. So yeah, they're the three biggest. If I said 3, then they're the 3 biggest things.
I think you said like 10 there, but
essentially they are by far the
mindset, consistency, and the discipline to actually carry out that consistency.
Yeah, 100%.
How about yourself?
I mean, I totally agree with what Kasim says. I would just somewhat word it differently, or just add to what you were saying. A lot of what you see on the internet is how it went from broke to a millionaire in 1 year, or how I made 0 to 10k in 30 days. And the internet, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok is so filled up with that plan. When you give it a shot, and I see a lot of people do it, give it a shot for like 2 months, and they're like, I didn't make money. I'm like, dude, you don't know anything about business, you have no skills. It takes more than a few months. At the end of the day, if you want to make money, it's a real business.
It's a real grind. And I've been saying that a lot recently. It's like, don't look at this as like a 3-month thing or a 6-month thing, or even a 12-month thing, right? Look at this as like a 5-year, 10-year thing.
Sure.
Because a lot of people tend to overestimate what they can do in 12 months, but underestimate what they can do in 5 or 10. Because you just don't tend to think that far.
and you will dedicate I'm dedicated to my business. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like a side thing or
Because
I think of it
honestly,
like every once in a while.
You guys grew way faster than like I ever did. Like, because I remember when I first started, I was kind of dipping my toes in. I was, skating to 4, 5K, 6K a month, losing it all, skating back up again, losing it all, skating back up, losing it all, and then that that happened like 3 times when my agency went to almost 0.
Right.
And then, like 1 year in, started getting more traction, hit 10K, 11K, 15K, went back down to like 8K, 7K. Continued consistently. And to be honest, in all fairness, I'm a very sort of lazy person when it comes to business. I just find ways to use that to my advantage, right? I'm a lazy human, so I find the best, most efficient ways to make life easy.
Yeah.
And that was my downfall for like the longest time. So you guys grew quickly, like in the last 6 months, 1 year. For me, it was more of like a 1 year, almost 2 years, and then it went up, sort of thing.
But that's like why kind of my second point is just patience. Because for me, like I started at 16, and it's only now that I'm like 19 that it's like getting real, right? Or to some extent. And not like you as in I had ups and downs with my agency, but also I started 3 years ago, and I see all these kids my age getting like super rich.
Yeah.
I'm like, why doesn't it happen to me? And
The comparison.
I was pissed off because like if he can do it, I can do it, and then it just wouldn't happen. And I think one of the things that make me break through and actually see some sort of success is patience, perseverance, obviously, but also just the mentality of, look, I don't know, I don't have the skills right now, or this is what I need to build on. And as long as I take steps in the right direction, and I know that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to lose money, etc. But as long as I'm doing something in the right direction, it can be like anything.
You'll still get
then sooner or later it will happen. And honestly, if it happened to me at like 25, making 10K at 25 is still really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's like there is no shame if it takes you 3 years, 10 years, or 2 months. I think
everyone's story is going to be different.
For sure, and you start. That's the thing with internet. It's like
you start comparing.
And you start comparing, and you don't start off in the same situation at all. If you don't have skills, for me, if you want to make money, it's not about the business model, or it's not about your outreach method or whatever. It's just what skills do you have. I'm pretty sure if all of us lost our business and there were no more SMMA or whatever, we would still be making money. Just because now we know how to close, we know how to talk to people, we know how to like operate stuff and build systems. So for me, it's just really learn the skills. Jason Capital says skills pays the bills. I agree.
Plug in here.
Yeah, he got me started into SMMA actually, so credits. And I lost my train of thoughts.
But yeah, skills. Skills. You need skills, and even if everything is taken away from you, you'll always have the talent that you build up. Which is why I think like after every failure or setback that you have, whether it's in our business model or any business model, if you really sit back and sort of reflect on the lessons that you can take from it, next time it happens, you either minimize the damage or you don't have the damage at all, and you scale even faster. And that's the thing, like a lot of people, they do approach me and they say, I keep trying, I keep failing, and I ask them how many times did you try, and it's like, I tried maybe 20 times, 50 times, 100 times. I'm like, okay, try 3,000 times. And they're like, no, that's too much, right? And that's the thing, it's like in all honesty, I've probably failed more times. Well, for sure I've failed more times than I've succeeded, but I've failed more times than they've even tried. And I think the more you fail, and in a healthy way, and you keep learning from that, the more successful you'll be.
And we're still going to make mistakes like on a daily basis, especially that now we reach like always new heights and new situations that we haven't been in before. Like I do a lot of failure, whether it's for leadership or for the way that I talk to people or the way I handle different situations. But you live and learn.
I think ultimately a great way to kind of close this off is just by saying like, make your don't necessarily work in the zone that you're not comfortable in, as they say, or you're outside of your comfort zone, but more work outside of your comfort zone temporarily and make that part of your comfort zone and continuously expand it. And you'll make mistakes along the way, but that's fine. And again, stay persistent, you stay consistent, you have the discipline here and there, you keep pushing, and regardless of if it's 2 months, 6 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years, you'll still get to the goal that you want to be if you truly believe again, you have the mentality that you know you can do it. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then who will, right? And
100%.
I think that's like probably the biggest thing I try to teach people, especially in the ebook these days. It's like it's not the knowledge that they don't know. It's just, do you believe in yourself to be able to actually do it? And even though you like to think that you do, subconsciously you don't, which is a big thing. But anyways, I'll wrap up the video there. Thank you guys for sharing sort of your stories, where you came from. Hopefully this has been inspirational and motivational for a lot of you. It's quite a long video, so if you made it this far, make sure you go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment on what your favorite part of this video was or what you learned from this. And yeah, catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.